So guys, a couple weeks ago, I busted the passenger side mirror on my truck, and it was completely my fault. It was totally stupid. I just hit a pole when I was backing out of a parking space. Completely my fault. So I reached out to a company who has done sponsorships with me before, and they agreed to send me a set of the Lariat tow mirrors with all the features, including power fold, power extend, puddle lamp, everything except blind spot monitoring. And I'm going to show you how to install those on your non-Lariat or non-featured truck. So like if you have an XLT or an XL without those features, I'm going to show you how to get all those installed. So like I said, the removal of the mirrors is actually very easy. You need to remove this access panel right here. It's a simple pull-off panel with some plastic tabs. Then you're going to have two 10mm nuts that require a deep socket, and then two 10mm bolts, as well as one wiring harness. There is a plastic tab on the mirror that holds it in place when you've removed all of the nuts and bolts, but even still, I do recommend doing this with the window open so that you can hold onto the mirror when you remove that last bolt so it doesn't fall, especially with the tow mirrors, which are pretty heavy. So with the new tow mirror installed, here's where we're going to encounter our first problem. We have a 8-pin connector in the truck and a 22-pin connector in the mirror. So obviously those won't work. Some of the mirrors have the 22-pin connectors if they have more of the features like the power extend, power fold, that kind of thing. But the base XLT mirrors only have an 8-pin. So that's where the first step of modification happens for the upgrade process. So there are two ways to modify your vehicle to support the Lariat tow mirrors. One is to modify the XLT wiring harness and add a bunch of wires and connectors, or you can do what I'm doing and purchase the Lariat install that. Either way, you do have to do some wiring modifications, but there are very few modifications needed to the Lariat wiring harness, which is why I'm doing this one. I am using a set of instructions that I found online to help me through this process and passing that along to you through this video. Unfortunately, I don't know who is the original author of these instructions, so I can't give them proper credit. I will, however, put a link to this document in the description so that you can follow along, and if anybody knows the username of the person who is the original author, please comment in the comment section down below, and I will pin that comment to the top so that the person who did all of the hard work putting this together can get the credit. Unfortunately, I don't know who that is, but I found it on a forum, and I will include that link down below. So thank you to whoever is responsible for doing all this work. So on the Lariat wiring harness, we have to make two wiring changes. One of them is to this connector, and we have to swap these two wires, this green one and this purple one. It's 18 and 19, and I've already swapped them. And the way you do that, or the way I did that, is I came up through the front, 22, 21, 20, 19. I went in 19 with my little tweezers, grabbed the little locking mechanism, and pushed the wire out with my pick. That's how I did it. There's a little locking tab in there, which is going to require you to disconnect the locking tab before you can remove the wire. So I've got the XLT wiring harness out of my truck, and then the next modification we have to do is we have to take this connector off of the XLT harness and then remove 4 wires from the Lariat harness and plug them into this connector. So what we're doing is we're taking this connector off and putting it in this place on the Lariat harness. These are the door lock connectors, and the reason we're swapping these is because the Lariat harness has extra wires and connectors for the memory and door panel illumination, and the XLT does not. So we're not adding that, so we're moving this connector over here, and then this connector will remain there but be unused. So we'll do that now. Once you get it done, your end result should look something like this. And now we can go ahead and install the lariat harness in the door. We've also swapped out the window switch for one with the power extend button. So the secret to getting the tow mirrors to work is going to be this box right here. This is called the driver's door module, and on the passenger side there's another one called the passenger door module. So you do have to buy a new one of these. I'll put the links and part numbers in the description, but you'll need a new one of these that is capable of powering the tow mirrors for power fold and power extend, because your non-tow mirror ones won't be able to do that. So once you get this installed, you will have to reprogram this with FORSCAN. I will put a link in the description to the articles and FORSCAN spreadsheets. I'm not going to do a video on changing them because it's just typing into a computer, but I'll put a link to the spreadsheets for that. And then you just button everything back up and you're good to go. So after you do this, you will have to reprogram the auto up and down functions for your windows. The process is detailed in your owner's manual, but essentially it's this. With the window up, push and hold the button down until it is all the way down, and hold for about a second. Pull and hold it up until it's all the way up. It'll stop and hit click. Make sure you hold it for about a second after it's up, and then go back down again. And then after that, your auto function should work like normal. And then one of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this panel here, and this is going to house the spotlight switches for the mirrors. So they have lights in the sides of the mirrors that act as like spotlights. So there'll be a little switch right here. For this you need 3 parts. You'll need the bezel with the cutout, the actual switch to go in there, and then the module that controls it. Now this is actually pretty easy to install. You just remove this piece and put the other one on. Okay. Now as you'll see, the connector for the switch is actually already in place, even if you don't have this from the factory, so it should be pre-wired. So just take this connector out. You have to swap the HVAC duct to the new one. Then install the switch in the new bezel and then just plug it in. Then you just reinstall this. And that's completely done. That's all that is. It's real easy. So if you crawl under the dash just above the gas pedal, you'll see this metal plate right here with this little black tab. That's securing the 2 unused wiring harnesses. So you can just give that a squeeze. That'll drop down the harnesses and pull off the little plastic plug. And then just secure it with the little black tab that's included, and you're all done, other than you do have to program it in FORSCAN to work. But once you turn it on, that's all there is. Alright, so guys, that is pretty much it. There is one thing left to do that I haven't done, and I'm unfortunately not going to get to it in this video. That is the power extend. And so if you've got mirrors like I do that have the power extend, you can't manually extend them, so you have to wire up the power extend. Unfortunately, I missed this part when I was getting ready to do this video, so I'm not ready to do it. I'll get to it eventually. Essentially, what you have to do is you have to run a couple wires from the where the dash harness meets the door harness here through under the dash to the battery junction box. You have to do that on each side. It's not difficult, it's just kind of tedious and time consuming. It's just 2 wires, I believe, on each side, one for power extend, power retract, to go to the relays in the battery junction box. Now the battery junction box should be populated with those relays, but if you have an XLT, you probably don't have the wiring for it. So that's the one thing that I haven't got to, that I'm not going to get to in this video today. But not too bad to do. You just got to run those wires on each side. So overall, not too bad of a project. Pretty much anybody should be able to do this if you've got some basic knowledge of basic wiring and FORSCAN. It's really not difficult. So realistically, this is a reasonable project, and I'm very happy with my results.